Opening hook, a courtroom like no other. It was a morning destined to make history. The Manhattan Federal Courtroom, usually steeped in procedure, decorum, and quiet anticipation, became a stage for events no one could have imagined. The trial of Victor Ashworth, a high-profile real estate developer with extensive political ties, was meant to proceed under routine scrutiny. Instead, it would erupt into an unprecedented legal and ethical spectacle that would shake the justice system to its core. By 10:47 a.m., Judge Caldwell's gavel struck with the authority of a thunderclap. 3 defense attorneys, Marcus Webb, Daniel Harriman, and Priya Nakamura, were handcuffed in front of a stunned courtroom. U.S. Marshals moved decisively around the defense table. Reporters scrambled for position, cameras clicked incessantly, and social media users around the world witnessed the chaos in real time. Victor Ashworth, seated at the defense table, sat alone, realizing that the very team he had trusted to protect him had become the source of his potential undoing. Trial background. The stakes. The trial had begun in late November 2025. Ashworth faced a series of federal charges: bribery, obstruction of justice, illegal financial schemes, and influence peddling designed to manipulate municipal zoning approvals. Offshore accounts and shell companies allegedly concealed millions of dollars in illicit gains. The prosecution's case revolved around Witness 14, a former executive in Ashworth's organization. This witness held documentation detailing cash payments, offshore transfers, and links between Ashworth's associates and local officials. Without Witness 14, the case could crumble. With them, prosecutors had the potential to dismantle Ashworth's empire entirely. The courtroom itself was fortified. Marshals were stationed strategically near exits. Cameras monitored the proceedings from every angle. Journalists, legal students, and observers packed the gallery. Every person sensed the historic weight of the trial. The defense team, key players. Marcus Webb, lead attorney. Over 23 years in high-profile white-collar defense, Webb was known for meticulous strategy and courtroom composure. Rarely flustered, he exuded authority and calculated confidence. Daniel Harriman, associate counsel. Former federal prosecutor turned defense attorney, Harriman brought procedural expertise and persuasive arguments, making him indispensable to Ashworth's defense. Priya Nakamura, junior associate. Rising quickly within Webb's firm, Nakamura handled sensitive communications and privileged materials. Her proximity to confidential information would later place her at the epicenter of scandal. Witness 14, the prosecution's linchpin, known only by code name in court filings, had documented evidence capable of toppling Ashworth's network. The leak, an unleashed storm. At 7:47 a.m. Eastern, an encrypted audio file appeared on multiple whistleblower platforms, labeled W14 Privileged, Do Not Distribute. The file was downloaded over 3 million times within 90 minutes. By 9:15 a.m., the audio had been broadcast on every major news network. The recording lasted 11 minutes and 43 seconds, capturing conversations between Webb, Harriman, and a third intermediary tied to Ashworth's associates. Witness intimidation, direct threats involving family and employment, financial manipulation, $847,000 in structured payments through offshore entities, obstruction of justice, instructions to manipulate other witnesses. FBI forensic analysis confirmed the voices of Webb and Harriman with 99.2% certainty. Metadata showed the recording was made just days before the leak. Court filings revealed that the tape was secretly recorded by a junior paralegal within Webb's firm who had been cooperating with federal investigators for weeks. Minute-by-minute breakdown of the tape. 00 to 2:14 minutes. Webb tells Witness 14 that personal consequences are associated, referencing family pressures. 2:15 to 4:47 minutes. Financial discussion. Harriman asks about payments. Webb confirms they are structured through consulting LLCs. Nothing traceable. Wire transfers totaling $847,000 match the dates of instructions. 4:48 to 6:30 minutes. Coercion intensifies. Threats involve the witness's brother-in-law, employment contracts, and family circumstances. 6:31 to 8:22 minutes. Discussion about making examples of other witnesses in unrelated cases. Webb mentions different team handling those, implying a broader scheme. 8:23 to 11:43 minutes. Financial obfuscation and contingency planning. Everything must appear legitimate. Consulting cover story emphasized. Courtroom reaction. Immediate fallout. Upon reviewing the leaked tape, Judge Caldwell did not hesitate. Without recess or warning, he directed U.S. Marshals to arrest Webb, Harriman, and Nakamura. Webb attempted to object mid-sentence. Harriman froze. Nakamura visibly trembled. Ashworth sat isolated. The courtroom witnessed the collapse of a legal defense in real time. Journalists, analysts, and social media users reacted immediately. Clips went viral within minutes. Hashtags like Ashworth Trial and Courtroom Chaos dominated feeds. Expert analysis. Amanda Chen, former federal prosecutor. This is not aggressive lawyering. It is a criminal conspiracy masquerading as legal advocacy. Threats against a witness's family cross every ethical boundary. Richard Howell, former federal judge. 37 years on the bench, and I've never seen attorneys behave like this. When lawyers become co-conspirators, the system itself is at risk. Victoria Santos, criminal defense commentator. Structured payments, offshore accounts, and systematic intimidation show premeditation. This isn't a mistake, it's a planned criminal strategy. Historical context. 1990s mob trials, lawyers convicted for co-conspiracy. 2008 Texas attorney, imprisoned for witness intimidation. 2021 Florida case, attorney removed for improper witness contact. The Ashworth case is unprecedented. Multiple attorneys coordinating real-time intimidation, financial obfuscation, and manipulation all while in the courtroom. Audience engagement, YouTube style. Visuals. Gavel strikes, close-ups on trembling hands, zoom-ins on Judge Caldwell. Suspense. Timestamps of the tape flashing on screen. Emotional tension. Ashworth alone. Witnesses threatened. Cliffhangers. And this is only the beginning. The tape reveals plans that could destroy more than one career. By the end of part 1, the audience is fully immersed in a compromised defense team, a trial on the verge of collapse, and a historic live unfolding of courtroom chaos. Courtroom aftermath. Shockwaves everywhere. By midday, the Manhattan Federal Courthouse was still buzzing from the morning's historic arrests. Marcus Webb, Daniel Harriman, and Priya Nakamura had been escorted in handcuffs to the holding area, leaving Victor Ashworth completely unrepresented. Legal analysts describe the scene as unprecedented in modern American courtroom history. News crews and journalists flooded the courthouse. Social media exploded with trending hashtags like hashtag Ashworth Trial, hashtag Courtroom Chaos, and hashtag Witness 14 Leak. Within minutes, clips of the gavel strike, the marshals moving across the defense table, and Webb's stunned expression were broadcast globally. Impact on the defendant, Victor Ashworth's predicament. Ashworth faced an immediate legal dilemma. With his defense attorneys under arrest, every legal strategy, motion, and cross-examination was now potentially tainted. Judge Caldwell had to assess whether the defendant could still receive a fair trial, considering his legal team's misconduct. Several high-profile defense attorneys were approached to represent Ashworth, but most declined. Conflicts of interest and the chaotic circumstances created a toxic environment, making the task nearly impossible. As a result, emergency hearings were scheduled to determine appointment of new counsel, mistrial considerations, handling of evidence potentially contaminated by the previous defense team. The DOJ steps in, expanding the investigation. The Department of Justice immediately mobilized a specialized task force to investigate the full scope of attorney misconduct. FBI agents executed coordinated raids at Webb's firm offices in Manhattan, Washington, D.C., Miami, and Los Angeles. Every document, computer, and communication device was seized for forensic analysis. Key findings in early DOJ investigation: financial networks, wire transfers totaling over $2 million routed through offshore LLCs, communication logs, emails, and encrypted messaging apps revealing coordinated witness intimidation efforts, whistleblower cooperation. The junior paralegal who recorded the tape had been working with DOJ investigators, allowing authorities to gather evidence methodically. The investigation quickly expanded into potential RICO charges. References in the tape to different teams implied a coordinated scheme beyond the immediate defense attorneys, hinting at a systemic operation designed to manipulate multiple trials and witnesses. Witness 14: Emergency Protection Measures. Witness 14, the prosecution's key witness, and their family were immediately relocated under U.S. Marshal Service protection. The threats detailed on the tape involved family members, employment contracts, and educational enrollment, creating an urgent security risk. Legal experts highlighted the psychological trauma faced by Witness 14, threats designed to manipulate and intimidate not only the witness, but their extended family. Mental health professionals were involved to provide support during relocation and testimony preparation. Amanda Chen, former federal prosecutor: "This isn't just a legal issue, it's a human tragedy. Witnesses and their families are living under extreme duress because of misconduct by those sworn to protect the defendant." Mistrial considerations, legal precedents tested. Judge Caldwell faced the monumental task of determining whether to declare a mistrial. The misconduct of the defense team could compromise every aspect of Ashworth's trial, including all motions and objections raised by Webb's team, cross-examinations conducted by the arrested attorneys, and confidential communications with Witness 14. Emergency hearings evaluated whether any new counsel could effectively defend Ashworth given the tainted record. Legal scholars noted that this scenario could set historic precedents regarding attorney-client privilege, could be voided if attorneys acted as co-conspirators, courtroom ethics enforcement, strengthening protocols to prevent future misconduct, trial integrity, determining how to proceed in cases where defense teams undermine the legal process. Financial fallout. Webb's law firm faced immediate financial turmoil. Insurance carriers reviewed malpractice claims. Clients previously represented by Webb's firm were at risk of compromised cases. Civil lawsuits were anticipated against the firm for failing to provide proper representation. The DOJ's investigation extended to companies and associates connected to Ashworth. Offshore LLCs and foreign accounts used to obscure payments were flagged for further regulatory scrutiny. Analysts warned that the financial fallout could ripple across multiple industries and prior legal cases. Political implications, public trust shaken. Although primarily a legal case, Ashworth's trial had political ramifications. Ashworth had connections to local government officials, donors, and campaigns. The tape revealed attempts to influence political outcomes through legal threats. Media speculation suggested that whistleblower networks and oversight advocates might push for systemic reforms in attorney accountability. Public reaction was mixed: outrage over attorney misconduct, concern for trial fairness, and widespread debate about whether the justice system could continue functioning under such compromised circumstances. Historical comparisons, lessons for the legal profession. 1990s mob trials, lawyers convicted for participating in client criminal enterprises. 2008 Texas case, single attorney imprisoned for witness intimidation. 2021 Florida murder trial, attorney removed for improper witness contact. The Ashworth case is unique: multiple attorneys coordinating intimidation, financial obfuscation, and manipulation simultaneously in the courtroom, signaling a new potential standard for evaluating legal misconduct. Expert commentary, national analysis. Victoria Santos, criminal defense commentator: "The scope of misconduct is staggering. Structured payments, offshore LLCs, systematic witness intimidation. This is beyond aggressive defense. It is criminal activity within the profession itself." William Hardcastle, conservative legal commentator: "Even in cases of prosecutorial overreach, I've never seen attorneys weaponize client privilege to orchestrate criminal conspiracies." Professor Rachel Morrison, Yale Law School: "The implications extend far beyond Ashworth. Any client previously represented by these attorneys could now be considered compromised. The profession faces a reckoning." Media coverage, global attention. News outlets worldwide covered the story intensively. Breaking news banners, historic courtroom arrests, viral clips of courtroom chaos, social media discussion on legal ethics, witness 14 safety, and courtroom accountability. Viewers engaged with suspenseful analysis, reenactments, and expert panels to understand the unfolding legal disaster. The court moves forward. Judge Caldwell's decision. Days after the shocking arrests, Judge Caldwell convened a special hearing to address the chaos. The courtroom was packed, media cameras strategically placed, and court observers from across the country attended. Judge Caldwell emphasized the unprecedented nature of the events. Never in my 37 years on the federal bench have I witnessed attorneys betray their oath in this manner. The integrity of this court is paramount, and it must be restored immediately. He announced the temporary suspension of proceedings while the court evaluated whether a mistrial was the only option. The judge ordered a complete review of all defense communications, motions, and trial preparations conducted by Webb's firm. Appointment of new counsel. The court faced the challenge of finding attorneys willing to take on Ashworth's case amid a highly toxic environment. 4 high-profile criminal defense attorneys publicly declined, citing conflicts of interest and the toxic circumstances surrounding this trial. Eventually, a specialized team of federal criminal defense experts agreed to take over. They were tasked with reviewing all existing case files, evaluating which evidence might be compromised, preparing motions to ensure Ashworth could receive a fair trial despite the misconduct of his previous legal team. The process was meticulous, involving hundreds of hours of document review, witness interviews, and strategy sessions. Financial consequences, Webb's firm and beyond. Webb's law firm faced immediate financial collapse. Insurance carriers began reviewing malpractice claims, while former clients initiated civil suits for compromised representation. Analysts predicted bankruptcy within months. Offshore LLCs, wire transfers, and consulting entities were scrutinized by regulators. Financial crimes units began tracking the flow of money to assess whether additional parties were implicated. The broader ripple effects included partner firms connected with Webb under investigation, corporate clients potentially exposed to civil and criminal liability, regulatory agencies assessing risk for prior cases handled by the firm. The situation highlighted the dangers of combining financial sophistication with legal misconduct, demonstrating how far-reaching the consequences can be. Witness 14, Safety and Testimony. Witness 14 and their family remained under tight protection, relocated to undisclosed locations. Security measures included continuous U.S. Marshal monitoring, psychological counseling for trauma management, strict travel and communications protocols. Experts emphasized that the integrity of the prosecution's case relied heavily on the witnesses' continued cooperation. Any failure to protect Witness 14 could jeopardize the trial entirely. Mistrial declared, a legal first. After extensive hearings, Judge Caldwell declared a mistrial. The decision was based on compromised defense strategies, potential witness intimidation, and ethical violations of officers of the court. The declaration sent shockwaves through the legal community. The ruling underscored the principle that no defendant can proceed fairly if their attorneys act criminally against the legal system itself. Professor Rachel Morrison, Yale Law School. This case will serve as a reference point for decades. It illustrates the delicate balance between attorney-client privilege and the integrity of justice. Department of Justice, expanding investigation. The DOJ intensified its probe, now examining the broader network referenced as different teams in the tape, offshore financial structures used to facilitate payments, communication patterns indicating systemic witness intimidation. Investigators indicated additional arrests could occur if evidence confirmed a larger criminal enterprise. This included potential RICO charges, conspiracy, and additional obstruction counts. Political ramifications. Ashworth's political connections magnified public attention. While no public officials were charged, media speculation questioned the integrity of officials and organizations linked to Ashworth. Analysts warned that if further connections to political interference were found, public trust in governance could erode significantly. The case also prompted debates on legal oversight, whistleblower protection, and ethical standards for attorneys representing high-profile clients. Public reaction, national outcry. The trial captured national attention, with millions following updates online and on television. Social media erupted, calls for stricter regulation of attorneys, discussions on fairness and ethical responsibilities in high-stakes trials, concern for Witness 14 and the potential for similar cases elsewhere. YouTube and news outlets utilized dramatic reenactments, voiceovers, and visual timelines to convey the complexity and gravity of the situation. The public became engrossed in both legal analysis and human drama. Legal precedent and ethical reckoning. The case set a historic precedent for attorney conduct. Attorney-client privilege, compromised when attorneys act as co-conspirators. Courtroom ethics reinforced the need for stricter monitoring of defense teams. Trial integrity demonstrated that misconduct at the defense table could nullify proceedings. The case prompted bar associations across multiple states to launch emergency reviews of attorney practices. Disbarment, civil liability, and potential criminal charges were all imminent. Financial and corporate oversight. Corporate entities previously represented by Webb's firm faced investigations into prior dealings. Financial analysts warned of cascading effects on investment portfolios, client operations, and compliance obligations. The DOJ's findings on offshore LLCs and consulting structures were poised to influence future regulations on corporate payments and financial transparency. The human cost, psychological impact. Witness 14's ordeal underscored the psychological toll of defense misconduct, threats to family safety, emotional trauma from coercion, and lingering fear even after relocation. Legal psychologists highlighted that the case demonstrated the extreme vulnerabilities of witnesses and families in high-profile trials, prompting calls for enhanced protections and ethical standards. Looking ahead, long-term implications. The Ashworth trial will be studied for decades in law schools, bar associations, and ethics seminars. Key takeaways include the limits of attorney-client privilege, safeguarding the judicial process against internal corruption, ensuring that justice is not compromised by those entrusted to uphold it. The trial also demonstrated the importance of whistleblowers, the vigilance of federal authorities, and the accountability mechanisms necessary to preserve public trust. Conclusion: a landmark legal moment. The Ashworth trial, now a mistrial, represents one of the most dramatic courtroom events in recent American history. It highlighted the catastrophic consequences of unethical legal conduct, the complex intersection of law, politics, and finance, and the essential role of witnesses in prosecuting systemic corruption. As new counsel takes over and the DOJ continues its investigation, the nation watches closely. The lessons learned from this trial will resonate across the legal system, reminding all that justice relies not only on law, but on the integrity of those sworn to uphold it. Final YouTube-style narration hook. Dramatic visuals, courtroom shots, gavel strikes, security footage, suspenseful voiceover. When those sworn to protect justice betray it, the consequences ripple far beyond the courtroom. The Ashworth trial is a lesson in power, privilege, and accountability. Viewer engagement, calls to comment, subscribe, and follow updates as the story continues to unfold.